my YouTube friends! I haven't taken a look at Meld for quite a while. The last time I looked, I'm pretty sure it was in beta. And it wasn't bad then, it just wasn't full-featured enough to really replace OBS. So today we're gonna revisit Meld and go through all the features in 2026 and see where it stands. We have a lot to get to, so you know what? Let's get to it! For those not familiar with Meld, it's a free live streaming and recording studio. It's available for PC and Mac. I didn't find any roadmap on their website that told me why it's really free or how long that's gonna last. So a word of caution, we should all assume, until we know otherwise, that the plan is to gain as large of a user base as possible before switching it to some sort of subscription model. I don't know, maybe Meld will clarify that down in the comments for us. Either way, it's free right now, so let's see how far it's come and whether it can replace OBS in 2026. All right, so here is the main page, and you can see it's meldstudio.co. I'll leave the link in the description down below. It asked me to download for Windows, but you can also get it for Mac if you look here. Got Windows and Mac. We're gonna go ahead and go for the Windows 11 because I am one of those poor sufferers. And it downloads it immediately. And as you can see, it's an MSIX file. This is actually a Microsoft application file, just in case you've never seen it. Double click on it. It opens as a Microsoft application. And we can just click the install button and boom, we come up to this. It's really quick, tight install, takes just a couple of seconds. All right, so once we get in here, we're just gonna go ahead and give it access to our camera and access to our microphone. And it has a little piece showing you the different features here, which I'm gonna go through anyways. So let's go ahead and click next and next. Now here it allows you to default to one canvas or multiple canvases. And I think we're gonna start out with just one canvas. Let's go ahead and get started. Now here, if you have scene collections or whatever, you can import them. Well, we're just gonna go ahead and start blank. So what we're gonna do is go up here to File. We're gonna go into Preferences. And you can see here you could switch from main to multi-canvas. You can set up how your main canvas is gonna be. So we can do 4K if we want. We can select our frame rate. We can use our hardware encoder. We can select our video bitrate and the quality standard and all that sort of stuff. Down here we can select our recording output and our clipping output. So we're just gonna go ahead and go with 1080p at 4000 kilobits per second, which is pretty much standard audio rate. If we go through advanced, we can allow our WebSocket to work for remote connections. Here's your B frames, and you can read what that's all about. In our white level, and this is when you're converting from HDR to SDR. And then here is a button that's to restart the browser. It's in case something in your browser crashes or something like that you're using on stream. You could just come into advanced and reset it. Obviously it says if this happens all the time, you want to report it. We're going to go into audio, and here we have our output device. In this case, this is the device that you're going to actually be listening to your stream on, or your guests or whoever. So we're going to go with our headphones right there. Here we can set up virtual cameras, and you have to install it if you want it. Smart guides or snapping lines and that sort of stuff you can turn on. You could set up transitions. They have the move transition, cut, fade, and morph. Your easing curve, how long you want it to be, and where you want the transition to occur. Here we've got our interface, so you could swap panels around or whatever you want. You can also use custom chat docs. All you have to do is put it in here. So if you're going to use Social Stream Ninja or something like that, you can add that right here. And also custom stream manager docs. Very, very cool. I like that. Got your hotkeys right here. And then, of course, privacy. You can enable a Discord presence if you want. I don't want to have anything to do with Discord, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. And that's everything that's in settings. So we're going to go ahead and switch our default input here to our CamLink device, and then we can look at our output devices and it will show us right here. We want to use our Zone headphones. This will also allow you to add a process source as audio. So if I have a specific web page that I want to be audible, or an application that I want to be audible, I can select it in our process sources. So we can rename our tracks or delete them, and we can add effects like compressor or gain, a stereo panner, or anything like that. We can also add additional audio. So we've got track 1, which we can rename, and if we wanted to go down here and go from input devices to process sources, now here's where we can select any of those process sources to add in. So if we wanted to add audio from Chrome or something like that, and then we can go up here and delete the track as well. So this is across all scenes, just so you're aware. And if you're used to OBS, then you'll notice we've got our scenes right here and our layers right here. So layers would be what sources is in OBS. So we have a scene and we can click this plus and we can add video device, display capture, game capture, media source, which would be videos or sound clips or something like that, images. We can add a browser tab, duplicator, which we'll look at later, text, markdown, rectangle, and widgets. And there are a bunch of different widgets that we can add. We'll take a look at those in a little bit. But let's add a video device right now, and we can just drop this down and select our video device. In this case, a 4K cam link, and bada bang, there we go. Now you can see we've got these little things in the corner, which means we can go ahead and take these and we can round up our corners if we want, change the shape. We can also go in here and crop the image in any way that we want and click done. And so now we can select different ways we want to do this, make it look like that, bring it down here. Makes it pretty easy to create subtle different things with your camera. I like it. We could go ahead and add another layer. So let's add a display capture, and I just select the display that I want to add, and we can go ahead and just stretch this out over the entire screen. All we have to do to make it visible is to go ahead and drag it below our cam. So now we have a camera in here, and we have our backdrop. Now we can lock our backdrop so it's unmovable, and now I can just grab my camera and move it, resize it, do whatever I want. Now you'll notice over here on the right we have all kinds of different things that we can do with our camera. So we can fit it, fill it, and stretch it. It tells us which device we're using, and then we have some preset things that we can do that add different lenses to our camera. There are also effects here, so bulge, and we can adjust the bulge, and we can remove them like that and click here, and there are a whole bunch of other effects right here. So for instance, our drop shadow effect, we can add some distance, we can adjust the softness or opacity or brightness of it, and let's go ahead and move it. So you can see there when we adjust the opacity, you can see it down below. We can move it around, and this adds kind of a cool, in my opinion, cool 3D element to our camera. Would be a lot more easy to see on a different background. And there are all kinds of different effects that you can add, including Chroma key. This is where you just pick the background color if you're using a green screen, and it will green screen you out. Now all the same things that you can do with your camera, you can do with your background. If this particular thing has audio, you can add it right here. You can also select capture the cursor. So when I'm up here, it captures it. If we uncheck it, it's not capturing it. You can also add the same kind of effects to this if you wanted to. So let's go ahead and create a second scene. We'll go in and we'll just add a video capture device, and we'll shrink it up and move it over here. We'll do the same thing with our background. And now when we go to transition between the two scenes, you can see that it moves my camera the way that you would expect the move transition to work. So what if we go ahead and right click and duplicate this scene here, so I can move this up here, and you'll see it's gonna work as intended. And then I can duplicate it again, go right here, and now it's working the way that you would think it's supposed to work. Now the only difference here, as you'll notice, if I go here and then I go to scene, you can see I put that drop shadow on there. It automatically appears here and then drags it down here. So you'd have to go and put the drop shadow on every one of these scenes to make the camera exactly the same. And what I'm going to do is take this, and we're going to go and we're going to duplicate it again, go here, and we're going to select our camera. We'll just embiggen it, put it right here, and you can see that it will shrink it, resize it, however you set it up. So we can add a video or an image, we can add a browser source, and right here is where you're going to add the actual text to your browser. So if you were using any alert system or something like that that's created in Streamlabs or Stream Elements, this would be where you would add that. right here. And luckily it does add the audio source right here that directly connects to this browser source. Here is the text feature, and we'll move this down. Here we could change the font size, we could change the text. We can also read it from a file. So if we had a text file that was being updated on a regular basis, we could add the text to that. We could select that file and it would change the text on here. That's really good for alert systems as well, if you want to integrate those into an overlay or something like that. Here we can change the color. We can also add a background color to it if we like. And we can add any single one of those different features. So we can add directional blur, drop shadow, corner pin. So what this allows you to do is move your corners so you can make an object look 3D-ish. Very cool. You can add some glow to it, adjust the size of our glow, adjust the color. So what if we wanted to move our text here? We can go ahead and duplicate it, and then we can right click and copy it. Go down here and we're going to paste it, and we're going to just change the name. So now if we move the text over here, you can see what happens. It has to be named exactly the same in order for it to be treated as the exact same thing. So that's how you would move that stuff around. We can obviously go here and we can just paste it again, change the name, bring it down here, and our text can essentially chase us around the screen. And you can do that with anything that you put in layers. So Markdown text allows you to do Markdown encoding on the text that you see here if you're familiar with it. I am not, but it adds an extra element to the text that enables you to do all kinds of really cool formatting and that sort of stuff. So that's what Markdown is. Here you can add shapes, so we can add a background color behind us. And of course there are all kinds of other things that you can do with the shapes as well. And then you've got your widgets. Let's go ahead and cover one more thing over here. If we click the plus, you're going to see something called the Duplicator. Now the Duplicator is basically Meld's version of nested scenes. And what a nested scene is it's a scene that you can use over and over again in other scenes. Why would you want to do this? Well, it saves a lot of duplication. So let's say that you have a bunch of different types of alerts. Like you're using Streamlabs, but you also have some video alerts. Maybe you're using Snap Camera to change your face or your voice or something like that. But you have a bunch of different types of alerts. Well, you could put all of those alerts in one scene and then use Duplicate to add that scene to all the other scenes. So that's essentially what the Duplicate does for you. And the last thing I want to show you is what these widgets are. Let's go ahead and start with Combo. And it doesn't really look like much here, but this is pretty cool. So what we're going to do is we'll stretch it out here. You can see we have some stuff over here. We can preview the event. So basically what this is it's like a bar that powers up every time that somebody triggers one of these events, like a Twitch cheer or Twitch sub, Kick follower, Kick sub, YouTube super chat, memberships. Any one of those things kind of powers up this bar. It'll go up or down over time, and you can configure it in all kinds of very, very cool ways. So the spotlight can be placed anywhere, and it will basically trigger a spotlight on a specific event. So if something happens, a Twitch sub event, it'll put the name in there and, a little animation or whatever. Now you could select the font, you can decide how to align it, you can select what events are triggered, and so you can make these as big as you want. So you can see what the events actually look like here. Confetti is pretty similar. If we go ahead and preview it, it just shoots out confetti. You can go down here and trigger it on non-chat events, which essentially means it will trigger on follows and subs and that sort of thing. You can actually trigger it on chat events where it'll just poof off when someone chats. You can adjust how much confetti, what the angle is, all that sort of stuff down here. Now chat gives you the chat overlay, so all of the chats will be aggregated into that, and you can place it anywhere you want on the screen so that everyone across all your platforms can see all your chats. Activity does the same thing, but with the activity feed, so it shows subscribers and donations and all that stuff across all of your platforms right on your screen. Snowfall, we'll go ahead and give that a preview so I can select how much snow, all that kind of stuff. And needless to say, I could move this back here so it doesn't cover my camera. It just goes through the background. So there are all kinds of fun little ways you could set this up. I like that one. That one is pretty cool. Wheel spin. You can set up a wheel. You can set up each of the elements of the wheel, spin it, doing contests, anything like that. Recent activity, very similar to the activity feed. It'll just scroll through anything that came by in the last couple of minutes or maybe the last 5, however you set it up. Goals, has a goal bar. You can configure it in all kinds of different ways. If you're looking for 10 subs on this stream, it will count up to that. Confetti fall, pretty much the same as Snowfall. Stopwatch, so you can time stuff on your stream. And then there is a sub button timer. Needless to say, all of these are extremely configurable. You can reset and pause them all right here. You can add 30 seconds or whatever, and it's just a pretty simple timer. So that's the subathon timer. Then there's a countdown timer, pretty self-explanatory. Progress bar. So if you're doing a subathon or something, it would track your progress. You can set all that up in there. Social handles. So basically, you can put your social media information in here, place it anywhere on the screen. It makes it easily visible for anyone to see at any time. The nice thing is you can hide it or bring it up anytime you want. Maybe you mention it. You can easily bring it up or pull it down. It's totally configurable, and you can add all of your accounts on here: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat, pretty much anything that you can think of, it's on here. Counter, pretty much exactly what you would expect. It will count something depending upon how you set it up and what you want it to count. And then chat highlight, which is essentially a feature where when your chat comes in, you can select it and that specific chat will appear on screen. Very cool feature, one I like very much, to highlight commenters or whatever, anyone in the chat. Pretty cool widgets. They add a lot of neat features to Meld that I think are pretty awesome. So there you go. That's the super basic operation. There is actually a lot I didn't really talk about in this video. Multi-streaming, the built-in Canvas feature, the impressive recording features, StreamerBot compatibility, Stream Deck support. Meld has really come a long way. I think for streamers just starting out, it could easily give you everything you need in a really easy to learn and stable platform. But what about old timers like me with super complex streams? Honestly, I think with a bit of creativity, you and I could overcome the stuff that's not here yet. But here are some things that I would really like to see. NVIDIA's background removal integrated into the software. Sure, you can use it with Meld, and I'll probably do a future video showing you how. But it requires you to run other software while you're using Meld, and it may not be quite as optimized. I would really like to see some sort of dynamic masking system that allows you to reshape layers with image or video masks. I'd also like to see a stroke effect that puts an outline around assets and layers, and definitely a more streamlined audio system that allows you to better decide which audio works in what scene. For example, right now if you were to add guest audio in the main mixer, it'd be active in every scene, even when you only want it in the scene with the guest in it. Now there are ways around this, and I'll probably do a video about it. But having more choices built in on a scene-by-scene basis would be really nice. And the last thing would be a better way to switch and create alternative streams. Now personally, I have a separate recording setup and a streaming setup. And I always have at least 2 or 3 other streaming setups that I'm tinkering with to try new things that may end up in my main stream. And at the moment, there is only an import and export feature. So you can export your stream and save it, and then import it to restore it. But there's no new stream button anywhere to wipe everything clean and start over. So if you export your stream out, you have to manually clear everything out to start creating anything new. So personally, I'd like to see some sort of a more comprehensive way to save and create multiple streams or recording sessions. That's a pretty short list, to be honest, and a lot of this you could find workarounds for just by being a little bit creative. At this point in 2026, I think overall Meld is a product that pretty much everyone could use for their streams and be pretty happy with. The only sticking point for me is the question of how long it's going to remain free. I remember CapCut was free too at one point. But until then, I'm going to be pushing the system a little bit more to see how it performs and bring you guys the results. So what do you guys think about Meld, and what features do you want me to do tutorials on? Or maybe what features do you want Meld to add? Let me know about it down in the comments. And if you're always looking for tools, tips, and tricks to help make you a better live streamer or YouTuber, subscribe to the channel. My name is Michael Fire Jr. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.